What if the reason your life feels average isn't because you lack talent, but because you keep choosing safety? Think about that for a second. Not failure, not bad luck, not a lack of opportunity, just safe decisions. The job that feels secure, the plan that feels realistic, the life that feels predictable. And on the surface, it looks fine, stable, responsible, even respectable. But underneath, there's this quiet feeling, like something's missing, like you're capable of more, but you're not touching it, not even close. Be honest, does that feel familiar? Because here's the truth most people avoid. Playing it safe doesn't protect you, it limits you. Slowly, quietly, until one day, you wake up and realize you built a life you don't even feel excited about. Not because you failed, because you never really tried. Now here's where it gets uncomfortable. Your brain is wired for safety. It wants certainty, predictability, control. It wants to avoid risk at all costs. Because risk means possible failure, possible rejection, possible embarrassment, and your mind hates that. So it convinces you, stay where you are, don't do anything crazy, be realistic. Sounds responsible, right? But here's the twist nobody tells you. That same voice is the reason you feel stuck. Because every time you choose safety over growth, you shrink your life, just a little. Every time you avoid a risk, you avoid a possibility. And those missed possibilities, they don't disappear. They pile up into regret. Now let me ask you something. Why do we do this? Why do we stay in situations we've outgrown? Why do we avoid moves we know could change everything? Why do we choose comfort, even when it's making us miserable? Sit with that for a second. Because the answer is deeper than fear. It's identity. You've trained yourself to believe you're someone who plays it safe, someone who doesn't take big risks, someone who doesn't go all in. And once that belief sets in, you start acting accordingly. You hesitate, you overthink, you delay, and then you call it being careful. But it's not careful, it's controlled by fear. Now here's where things start to shift. What if the goal isn't to eliminate fear? What if it's to move with it? Because fear doesn't mean stop. It means, this matters. This matters enough to make you uncomfortable. And that discomfort? That's the doorway. But most people never walk through it. They stand there, thinking, analyzing, waiting for the right time. But the right time never comes, because safety keeps you waiting, forever. Now here's the part that hits hard. Every story you admire, every success you respect, started with risk. Not certainty, risk. Someone choosing the unknown over the familiar. Someone stepping forward without guarantees. Someone deciding, I'd rather try and fail than stay here and wonder. And that decision? That's where everything changes. But here's the catch. It doesn't feel powerful in the moment. It feels terrifying, messy, unclear, uncomfortable. Because growth never feels safe. Now let me ask you this. If you keep choosing safe, where does that lead? Not tomorrow, not next week, 5 years from now, 10. Same habits, same thinking, same life, just older. That's the real cost. Not failure, stagnation. And stagnation? That's the quietest way to waste your life. Now here's where this journey begins. Not with a big move, not with a dramatic decision, with awareness. Seeing the pattern, recognizing the trade you've been making, comfort now, for regret later. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Which means you have a choice. Keep playing it safe, or step into something uncertain, but alive. And what comes next? This is where it gets real. At first, you don't change anything. Not really. You just notice. The moments you hesitate, the times you almost speak up, but don't. The opportunities you quietly pass on without even trying. And it's subtle. So subtle, you used to ignore it. But now, you can't. Because once you see the pattern, it starts showing up everywhere. You realize it's not one big decision keeping you stuck. It's 100 small ones. Daily, automatic, invisible, choosing the easier path, avoiding the uncomfortable move, staying where it feels familiar. And that's when it hits you. You're not living intentionally. You're reacting to fear, reacting to doubt, reacting to the need to feel safe. Now here's where it gets uncomfortable, because you start asking a different question. Not, what should I do, but, what am I avoiding? And that question changes everything. Because the answer is always honest. It points directly at the thing you keep delaying, the conversation you don't want to have, the decision you don't want to make, the risk you don't want to take. And deep down, you already know what it is. You've known for a while. You just keep pushing it away. Why? Because it threatens your comfort. But here's the shift. Comfort isn't protecting you. It's containing you. And the longer you stay inside it, the smaller your world becomes. Now wait till you hear this. The moment you step outside your comfort zone, your brain goes into panic mode. Not real danger, perceived danger. Your heart races, your thoughts speed up. Everything inside you says, go back. And most people do, immediately. They interpret that feeling as a warning, as proof they shouldn't do it. But what if that feeling is actually confirmation? Confirmation that you're doing something new, something that matters. Because growth always feels like risk. Now let me ask you something. When was the last time you did something that genuinely scared you? Not slightly uncomfortable, actually scared. If you can't remember, that's a sign. Because a life without risk becomes predictable, and predictable becomes boring, and boring slowly turns into regret. Now here's the part nobody admits. You don't fear failure as much as you think. You fear exposure, being seen trying, being seen struggling, being seen not being perfect. So instead, you avoid the situation completely and then tell yourself, I'll do it when I'm ready. But ready is a myth. It doesn't exist. Confidence doesn't come before action. It comes from it. Now this next part, this is where things start to change. Because instead of waiting to feel ready, you take a small risk. Not a huge one, just enough to break the pattern. You say something you usually wouldn't. You try something you've been avoiding. You step into discomfort on purpose. And nothing catastrophic happens. No disaster, no collapse, just discomfort. And then it passes. And that moment, it rewires something in you. You realize, I can handle this. And that's powerful. Because once you prove to yourself you can survive discomfort, you stop fearing it as much. Now imagine stacking that again and again. Small risks, daily, consistent. Suddenly, you're not the same person. You're someone who acts, not someone who waits. And that shift, it's everything. Now let me ask you this. Which one are you right now? Playing it safe or starting to take risks? Type A if you're still playing safe. Type B if you're ready to change. Don't overthink it, because this next step, this is where it gets real. Not just noticing, not just thinking, doing. So you start doing. Not perfectly, not confidently, just intentionally. You take the step you've been avoiding, and it feels awkward, unnatural, like you're stepping into a version of yourself you're not fully comfortable being yet. But you do it anyway, and that matters. Because this is the moment most people never reach. They think, they plan, they imagine, but they don't move. You did. And even if it's small, it breaks something, the pattern. Now here's what happens next. Your mind starts negotiating. Okay, that was enough. You don't need to push further. Let's not get carried away. Sounds reasonable, but it's not growth. It's your comfort zone trying to pull you back. And this is where discipline enters the story. Because motivation, it fades quickly. But discipline, that's what keeps you moving when you don't feel like it. Now let me ask you something. Do you really think successful people feel confident all the time? No. They just don't wait for confidence. They act first and let confidence catch up later. That's the difference. Now here's the part nobody tells you. When you start taking risks consistently, you don't just change your actions, you change your identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who plays it safe. You start seeing yourself as someone who tries, someone who moves, someone who steps forward even when it's uncomfortable. And identity? That drives everything, because once you believe that about yourself, your behavior follows. Now wait till you hear this. There will be moments when you fail. Not maybe, definitely. You'll take a risk, and it won't work. You'll try something, and it falls apart. You'll step forward and face rejection. And this is the test. Because failure feels personal. It hits your ego. It shakes your confidence. It makes you question everything. And your mind will say, see, this is why we don't take risks. But here's the truth. Failure isn't proof you should stop. It's proof you're finally playing the game. Because the only people who never fail are the ones who never try. Now think about that. Would you rather fail trying or succeed at staying average? That's the real choice. And most people choose average, quietly, repeatedly, without even realizing it. Now here's where it shifts again. You stop measuring progress by outcomes and start measuring it by courage. Did you act? Did you try? Did you step forward despite fear? If yes, you're winning, even if it didn't work, because every risk you take builds something inside you: resilience, confidence, clarity. And those things, they compound over time. Now let me ask you something. What's one thing you've been avoiding for weeks, maybe months, because it feels risky? Don't say it out loud. Just think about it. Because that thing, that's your doorway. That's where growth is waiting. And the longer you avoid it, the longer you stay the same. Now this next part, this is where transformation locks in. Because you stop treating risk like something optional and start treating it like a requirement, a daily standard. You don't ask, should I take this risk? You ask, is this moving me forward? If yes, you move. Simple. And that simplicity, it creates momentum. You stop overthinking, you stop delaying, you stop negotiating with yourself, you just act. And over time, that version of you becomes normal, not special, not rare, normal. And that's when everything changes. Because now, you're not chasing growth. You are
growth.
And then something happens. You stop asking for permission, not from others, not even from yourself. You just decide and move. No long debates, no endless overthinking, no waiting for the perfect moment. Because now you understand something most people don't. Perfect doesn't exist. Only progress does. And progress belongs to people who act. Now here's where it gets interesting. The things that used to scare you, they feel smaller, not gone, just manageable. Because you faced them before. And every time you did, you survived, you adapted, you learned, you got better. So now, fear doesn't stop you, it signals you, it tells you, this matters. And instead of stepping back, you lean in. Now let me ask you something. What would your life look like if you treated fear like a green light instead of a stop sign? Sit with that. Because that one shift changes everything. Now here's the part nobody prepares you for. When you stop playing it safe, your life becomes unpredictable, not chaotic, alive. New opportunities show up, new challenges appear, new versions of you emerge. And yes, there are moments of doubt, moments where you question your decisions, moments where things don't go your way. But here's the difference now. You don't run from them. You face them. Because you trust yourself, not your circumstances. Yourself. And that trust, that's freedom. Now here's what most people misunderstand. Taking risks doesn't mean being reckless. It means being intentional. You're not jumping blindly. You're moving forward despite uncertainty. There's a difference. One is chaos. The other is courage. And courage, that's what builds a life worth living. Now think about your story, right now. If someone asked you, what makes your life interesting? What would you say? Safe choices? Predictable routines? Things you almost did but didn't? Or moments where you took a chance and it changed something? Because at the end of the day, no one remembers the safe path, not even you. You remember the risks, the decisions that felt big, the moments that felt uncertain, the times you stepped forward without guarantees. That's your story. And if you keep avoiding those moments, your story stays empty. Now here's the final truth. You don't build confidence first and then take risks. You take risks, and confidence is the result. You don't wait to feel ready, you act, and readiness follows. You don't eliminate fear, you move with it. And once you understand that, you stop playing small, you stop settling, you stop choosing a life that feels safe, but empty. Now let me ask you one last thing. If nothing changes, if you keep choosing comfort over growth, where does that lead you? 5 years from now, 10. Same mindset, same habits, same results. Just more regret. Because deep down, you'll know. You had the chance. You just didn't take it. But here's the good news. You're still here, which means you still have the choice right now to do something different, to take a risk, to step forward, to break the pattern. Not tomorrow, not when the time is right. Now. Because every great story starts the same way, with someone choosing not to play it safe. So don't wait. Don't overthink it. Just move. Even if it's messy, even if it's uncomfortable, even if it's uncertain. Because that's where your life begins. If this felt real to you, don't ignore it. Say something. Not for anyone else, for yourself. And if you're ready to build a life that actually feels like yours, stay here, subscribe, and start choosing risk
over regret.